we're thinking most of this is in the same scale of separated buildings, the sort of T4 that we talked about in the talk today. We're throwing on the table sort of an exciting idea that you might consider this little street here, the buildings on both sides of it might be 3 to 4 stories, you know, and the street might get a little narrower, and it would be this really highly energetic little street that would be sort of hidden, tucked away back here. And then these, which I didn't mention, are what we call skinny streets. We've got the sections here. This is Main Street, which, as I said, has a 34-foot thoroughfare and then 20 feet for sidewalks, and so this building to building. And we're thinking, you know, 2.5 story kind of buildings as there are now. This was our this slightly denser street that we were talking about, the section of it, which we think would have a little like 12-foot sidewalks, 34-foot thoroughfare, and then three, as I said, 3 to 4 foot high buildings. So it's got a lot more intimacy, and could be the nightlife, the people that like to party would be tucked back here. But the skinny streets are shown here, and they're pretty purely residential. There'll just be a one-lane street, no parking, with stoops, and you get this very intimate feeling of a little street, like in Philadelphia. And we thought that some of these could be tucked in here, and then we got a little Lewisburg Square, you know, tucked in there that can be held. So let's see. It's a lot of ideas. I think that's it. We have it, and then we suddenly said, "Oh my God, we better get one of these drawn up." So they're very schematic and so on, but we posted them up. And then we did a very quick sketch. This is approaching on London Road, and that would be the community building. So,
when we walked around, we saw opportunities for some, taller structures that might reach up to like 5 stories. We see opportunities for that kind of creeping in and start giving some mess.
Yeah. I mean, in most of these early New England towns, Newburyport, et cetera, a lot of it's 3 stories, full 3 stories, and that's illegal now. Those are dangerous buildings, but they're beautiful. They're gorgeous buildings. Yep.
So how did you go about executing officially?
Well, what goes on, like we did for Hamden, is that we would work with you or someone. I mean, there are a lot of people that do this who work with us, but to keep working on this until everybody's kind of happy with it. We would have a whole lot more of these renderings to sort of show you, and we intended to have. I won't believe it if Russell brings it up now. But we were going to have like three renderings. And maybe he's got here, I don't know. One more? Wow. So that you really see what we're talking about. And then once everything is kind of the way you like it, then we take the smart code, and we have a woman we work with who calibrates. She works with your zoning department very closely, because it's really, you have to go through and understand all the language and the way in the smart code they have warrants instead of variances and various things that are different from the standard code and how it's written. And so she's actually with us during the charrette with people from the planning department, and they spend the whole charrette just getting familiar with the smart code and the language and editing it during the charrette. So then it all gets codified into the final document that is the outcome would be the smart code and a regulating plan. That's why I brought them. This is the regulating plan for Hamden, and I brought the smart code for Hamden, if anybody wants to look at it. And then that goes to your, whoever, in Hamden, it's the zoning commission that handles any changes to the code. And yours might be the town council, I don't know how your government is set up. But it's, it's a public hearing process, and people get to ask questions and so on and so forth.
Would eminent domain be the way you get those?
No, this is purely, this is not changing anybody's property, it's not changing anybody's, as I said, we were showing streets where there are no buildings. So, and as somebody mentioned earlier, nobody would be required to do this. This is just saying that if you want to develop your site, this is how we want you to do it. You could leave what you've got for, because you can put twice or three times as many buildings on it. And so we haven't found too many complaints from commercial property owners.
One thing I see in Hamden is they're just so afraid of the change. And then when you explain to them, well, if you stick with your current zoning, it could be much worse. Then they say, oh, okay. So it's just, the idea of something changing is a little scary, but it creates many more better opportunities for them.
Well, let me expand on that a little bit too. In Hamden, we did 14 and a half miles of smart code. That's a long. That's a lot. And we specifically were given the 3 state highways. Whitney Avenue, State Street, and Dixwell Avenue. Most of the property along those highways is zoned commercial. We've had no complaints whatsoever from any of the commercial property owners. The complaints that you're mentioning are from actually this one neighborhood, Spring Glen, that has a lot of Yale faculty live in Spring Glen. And so what we've done is as I mentioned, there's T4 and then T3 is zoned down. It's purely residential. There's no commercial in T3. And so we've just put everything, if they had a problem, we just made it T3. And so the only part that we are now changing in Spring Glen is right where, if you know Spring Glen, is where the hardware, there's several restaurants and antique stores and barbershops and art. And so it's a little commercial area. So we've just allowed them to do the same thing on the opposite side of the street, which everybody loves, the one side. They hate the other side, which is, Walgreens, that kind of stuff. So I guess what I'm saying is that it's more sensitive in the residential areas, and you're right. But I think in the commercial areas, people generally see the benefit.
Could you maybe mention how